Hi everyone, I'm the Craft Maiden, and in this video I'm going to make two different Dreamcatchers inspired by Sailor Moon. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell so you won't miss a video whenever I upload. So let's get this started. I have had these bangles in my drawer since the 90s, so I figured I would use them in some crafts. I really only needed two as I'm only making two kinds of Dreamcatchers, but you can of course use regular wire and make it in any size you want to. So I started off with one bangle and aluminum wire that I twisted into a circle. If you want it to be somewhat symmetrical, you can always wrap it around something in the fairly right size, but as I didn't have anything in that size, I just winged it a bit. Then I used a nipper to make the cuts, and to make a really nice and flat cut, I make sure to turn the tool around so I get the flat cuts towards each other. But even so, there might still be some bumps that I used a small file to get rid of that and to get a really nice and flush cut. Then I made a smaller ring in the same way and glued them together, making sure the cuts face each other, and here you have the base for the moon. As I did want to use as much stuff I had at home already, I used this gold ribbon that I had lying around and just ripped it up to get a bunch of threads. But you can of course use regular gold threads for this and just bunch them together in smaller groups and use it to cover the rings. Then to cover the bangle, I used some Superglue to secure the end of one bundle and then wrap it all around until it was all covered. Then I used some more Superglue to secure the end and letting the excess threads stay on. Then I glued on a bundle onto the moon, and instead of wrapping it all around like I did with the bangle, I decided to alternate between the two rings to get a somewhat solid moon instead. And it's quite simple. You might need a tool to get a grip of the bundle, but as you can see, I just dragged it in between the two rings, over the outer ring, in between the two again, and over the inner ring, and just repeated it until the moon was covered. And as always, you can find the tools and materials used in this video in the description box together with the links to my social media, so why not maybe follow me on Instagram? I upload there when I'm not here. As it gets tighter at the end, you can always use a needle to get a bundle through and then use it to secure the end inside. And then I added a bit of Superglue to the end just to prevent it from fraying, and then I cut off the excess threads that stuck out. With a template, which you can find in the description box, it's easier to see where to place the star. I marked it out on the bangle. And for the star, I used a nylon thread, but if you can always use a thicker gold thread instead. I tied the nylon thread onto the bangle and then placed everything onto the template so to know how long the thread needs to be in between. And to keep the thread in place, I tied a knot and repeated it all around the star. And when the star is done, I secure the end with a knot and with some Superglue again. And when the glue had dried, I cut off the excess and then I wrapped it all with the gold thread. And as the black really stands out towards the gold, I covered it as well. And when the whole star is covered, I secure the end and added some glue. And as I'm making two different Dreamcatchers in this video, I used the same method on the other one as I did with the moon, but instead of covering it all, I just only wrapped the rings instead. But as I wanted this moon to be a little bit more solid, I used the same technique as on the smaller one, but with a thinner thread and with more space in between. The other difference are as well that you place the thread on the inside of the last stitch, so they lock together at each ring to create a zigzag pattern instead. I have a problem to explain this properly, so I hope you can see what I'm doing. and to finish it off I secure the end. So back to the other Dreamcatcher. For the gems I used some glass beads, and to secure them into place I pretty much used the same technique as I did with my tiny Christmas tree, and used some wire and with a plier create a loop, and then I could fasten it around the ring. So I poked the wire through and made sure the loop wrapped around the ring, and with a plier I just squeezed it stuck and used some glue to keep them still. When the wires were in place I just cut them off a bit so they wouldn't poke out of the bead, and with some clear drying hobby glue I filled the beads up and placed them onto the wires. When they all are in place, just leave it to dry. For the other one I use a faceted glass bead instead and a head pin, as the bead is quite a bit heavier and I want it to stay in place. Otherwise I use the same technique with the glue, but I wrap the end onto the inner ring instead. Then I cut off the excess and used a bit of Superglue just to keep it in place. As it's the end of Easter, I had these feathers lying around, and to give them a more flair I used diluted glue and a brush and painted it on, and before it dried I sprinkled on some gold glitter. I did this on both sides and on all the feathers, and to decorate them even further I added a gold bead on the top. For the moon stuff I only wanted one bundle of 3 feathers to represent the handle. And to fit them into the bead I had to trim them somewhat and glue them into place, but one of them didn't really fit, so I glued it on top the other ones, just making sure it had a flat cut towards the bead so they wouldn't be so visible. And before the glue is drying I added a piece of wire in the bead that I kind of folded beforehand. That is because the bead I'm using is hollow and I need to make sure the wire stays in the bead. Otherwise I would have done the same thing as I did with the other beads earlier. Then I repeated the same thing on the other bundles and set it to dry. And as you can see here, for the brooch one I wanted 3 bundles with 1 feathers in 2 beads and 2 feathers in 1 bead. And as I did before when adding the other beads, I just made a loop and squeezed them into place. To be able to hang the Dreamcatchers, I braided some of the threads together to get a thicker thread and added it onto the top. Then I repeated the same thing on the other one, but as I was looking at it I think the one bundle of feathers looks kinda lonely, but I didn't want to lose the staff feeling, so I added 4 stars instead, and you can sort of say it represents the other 4 main sailors. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I have a question for you guys. Which character is your favorite one in the Sailor Moon series? Leave your answers in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome stuff. By the way, I'm going to visit Makers Central in Birmingham this May. I'm only going to be there on Saturday the 5th, but if you are going there as well, why not come forward and say hi if you see me in the crowd, because I would love to meet you. You will find the link to the event in the description box down below. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, I'll see you next time. And if you're still here, you will know that my favorite character is Luna. Because I love cats, of course. So to top this off, why not leave a crescent moon in the comment section as well, so I know how many of you stayed to the end. Bye!